Good afternoon, everyone. I am Emily Bold, DRI's Marketing Manager, and I will be moderating today's webinar. Before I introduce our presenter, as usual, I'd like to go over a couple of housekeeping items for all of our attendees. Everyone is muted as you enter the webinar. The factory track demonstration will take about 30 to 40 minutes, and following the demonstration portion, we will open the floor for a live Q&A session. If you would like to ask a question, please do so by typing and submitting your question in the question tab of your GoToWebinar toolbar. You can submit a question at any time throughout the session. If we don't have time to get to your question during the session, we will follow up with you directly via email after today's session. We'll also be recording this webinar, and that recording will also be emailed to all of our registrations following the live presentation. Before we start today's session, I would like to make everyone aware of 3 additional webinars we have scheduled. Those are appearing on the screen now. As you can see, these sessions will occur every other Friday from now through November 19th. And those webinars are Service Management Demo on October 22nd, the Quality Demo on November 5th, and Configure Price Quote Demo on November 19th. These are for SyteLine users. You can learn more and register for all of those demos on our website at decision.com/events. Welcome everyone to today's demonstration of Factory Track for SyteLine. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our presenter today. Dave Lindeman is a senior consultant here at Decision Resources, Inc. Dave has 25 years of experience working with ERP and supply chain management solutions and helping clients automate and transform their business operations. Dave, without further ado, I think everyone's ready to see Factory Track, so why don't you take over?
Great, thank you, Emily, and thank you everybody for your time today. As Emily said, my name is Dave Lindeman, and I'm a business solution consultant with DRI. And today we're going to take kind of an overview look at both Factory Track warehouse and Factory Track shop floor mobility. So you're going to see a little bit of the warehouse operations, and then we'll take a look at some of the shop floor. All right, so to start, I'll talk a little bit about Factory Track and what it encompasses. We'll go into the warehouse mobility application first. And when you go into the mobility application, you're going to see, and if I were to shrink this down, you'll see if I was on a device, obviously it would fit the size of the device. I'm going to expand it just so I can kind of take up my screen. But as you can see, I've got a number of icons on that device. Now, it could be as simple as an iPhone or Android device, or it could be like a Honeywell or Intermac type ruggedized device that you use in the warehouse. And as you can see, it's very simple. A user is going to tap on the icons that we see here. But some of the key operations in warehouse are going to be things like our Move It, which would be some of our inventory moves and issues and receipts, etc. Get It is more of our purchasing operations, so the receiving operations and some of our QCS, because it does integrate with our QCS application, so you'll see some of that. Ship It is going to integrate with our shipping, pick, pack, ship, and then counting and Kanban and some other miscellaneous utilities we have out there we'll touch on. But primarily we'll focus on some of the key aspects of warehouse management, and then, as I mentioned, we'll transition into some of the manufacturing and shop floor mobility. All right, so let's start by doing a simple move. So as an operator, I would tap on the Move It icon, and in this case, actually even before we do a move, let's do a quick inquiry. So I might want to do an item inquire on an item in a location. So what I'm doing now is I happen to have a sheet here with some barcodes on it, and I'm going to scan my item number. Okay, so I scan my item number, and then maybe I go down and I scan the location. All right, and that's going to show me, in that case, just a quick inquiry of the location availability and for that particular inquiry. Now, if I go back, let's go back to our move transaction, and we'll see that I can move material within the warehouse. So let's do a quick stack move. So in this case, I might go down and scan my item. So I'm gonna go ahead and scan that same item we just scanned. It's gonna pick the location that I might be my primary location that I'm moving it from. I'm gonna go down to the quantity I wanna move. Let's just move 50 of these. So I key that in, and I'm gonna just click on my to location. Okay, we can see now the operator would tap on process, and that would process that move transaction. Now this is all real time with your SyteLine or CloudSuite data. So if I were to go back at this point, and let's just pop back real quick here and take a look at the material transactions we've done. So I'm jumping back over to SyteLine. I'm going into transaction details. And I'll just pick transactions that we've done today and filter on that, and you'll see that there's that stock move I just did. So you're transacting real time on that mobile device, and you're seeing that immediately in your SyteLine database. All right, so let's pop back. We'll go back over to warehouse mobility, and we'll take a look at a receipt. All right, in receiving, we're going to go to the get it area. So in this case, I'm receiving a PO. I'm going to go to, and I could do a single stage or a two-stage receipt. In the case of a single stage, I might be receiving direct to stock. I can receive that material to kind of a staging or a put away location and then move it from there. I can also do some transfer receipts, and as we'll see in a little bit, I can view QCS information as well. So I'm going to do a purchase receipt. Now this happens to be a PO for a quality controlled item. So because it's quality controlled, you're going to see some other information pop up. Let's go ahead and I'll scan the PO. Now I could either scan the line item, or if I have the item barcode right there, I'll scan that. Okay, I could have looked that up if I had tapped on the little search button, but otherwise I just click next. And that's going to ask me, okay, how many do you want to receive? What location you want to receive them in? So in this case, we'll go ahead and we'll receive 5 of these. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and receive 5 of the 100. Click on receive. Okay, actually, let's go ahead and do 25. I think I wanted to receive a little more of that. So we'll go ahead and receive 25. And again, because this is a quality controlled item, okay, it's saying that a receiver's been created, a QCS receiver for that. So if it wasn't quality controlled, I wouldn't see that information. But now if I were to pop back to my factory track screen and I tap on QCS test results as an example, all right, and I pull up that PO number that we just looked at, so I'm scanning the PO, click next. Now I did one in advance just so you can see it, but here's the one we just did up here. But if I look at this one, I've already entered some test results. You'll see that I've got a hole size and a tolerance test that need to be performed. And this is where quality entered their information. All right, so you'll have that mobile capability there, as well as if we look at that same information, let's just go back a screen. We'll go back to factory track and I'll look at my PO receipts. Here's the inspection disposition screen. Here's that receipt we just looked at. Here's the 25 that were accepted. 25 we received, 20's been accepted, 5 are on hold. And if I hit my tests and defects, you'll see those back in the CloudSuite or SyteLine system. So the transactions are being automated, obviously, on the front end with factory track, but all the same information that you have available in the back end in SyteLine is nicely presented in the typical SyteLine screens. All right, so that's kind of an example of some of the warehouse type mobility applications. One last area we'll touch on would be shipping. Okay, so we did a move. We kind of looked at a get, which is the receiving. If I click on ship it, that's going to show me, any of my picking and packing and shipping operations. So I can do a quick pick and ship. I could do transfer order shipping if I use transfer orders. I could do, if I do use pick, pack, and ship, I'll click on that. As an operator, I may have a a listing of all those picks that I need to perform. So I go in, I have kind of a task list, I select my pick. It's saying, okay, here's the item I'm going to pick. I'm going to put that into a location. Now I could either look that up or we could scan it. I'll go ahead and scan that. Okay, I'm going to tell it how many I want to receive, or I'm sorry, how many I want to ship in this case. So we'll go ahead and we'll ship the 20 that are on the order, click process. And now that's confirmed that pick. So now it would move on to my shipping operations. All right, so just another, again, a warehouse type transaction that you might perform in Factory Track. Now, if I go back and look at a couple of the other miscellaneous transactions that are out there, I could do an inventory count. Okay, so if I've generated my inventory counts and I want to enter those counts through Factory Track, I simply hit, cycle count. Maybe I pull up my counts. All right, we'll choose one of these and click next. And now I'm going to start entering the counts for the items on that count. So if I wanted to enter the count for this, I go in, I enter my quantity, I hit process, and now that item has a count entry. All right, so again, I can use it for cycle counting. I could also use it if you happen to have any type of Kanban processing you want to do. So basically kind of act as an electronic kind of two-bin system. So, kind of a pull system where I can have Kanban requests and transact against those requests, whether it be a fulfillment from a purchase order, from inventory, or maybe a job that's replenishing those bins. All right, there are some basic, we'll talk more about the make it and the time and attendance in shop floor. You can do some of the basics in warehouse. As you can see, I can do labor reporting, job reporting, etc. But more commonly, that's going to be done in shop floor mobility, and that's what we're going to talk about next. All right, so I'm going to log out of here. And we're going to go back and we're going to take a look at shop floor mobility. All right, so I'm going to log into shop floor. And when I go into shop floor, I'm going to be presented with a screen that allows the operator to kind of identify themselves. So it can be biometric scanning if you want, or maybe just a badge ID entry. So in this case, I'm going to enter badge ID 15. Now you'll notice this is more kind of tablet sized, and it's meant to be, kind of used on either a kiosk or maybe a tablet in the shop floor area. But you'll notice in this case, Jerry Wolf, who's badge ID 15, is associated with a work center, an area in the shop, and that he happens to be associated with the fabrication area in this case. Now, the first thing we'll take a look at is the ability to do just basic time and attendance. So we can clock in, clock out, go to lunch, come back from lunch. So Jerry might, one of the first things he might do is just click clock in. Okay, and that kind of puts him on the clock. So we know Jerry's reported for work and he's in the system. Now, once he's in the system, we can start, if he can start issuing material, we could complete jobs, we could move jobs. And we'll do a couple of these. So I'll just do a simple material issue to start. So we go in, and again, we're going to scan our job number. So he's got the handheld, he's scanning the job. It's going to identify the operation that they want to issue the material for in this case, scanning that. Okay, now at that point, I could either select the material from the kind of the pick list for the job, okay, or if I have the barcode for the material sitting there on the shop paperwork, I might just scan that, okay, and now it's saying, okay, of the 96 required in this case, I haven't issued any yet. I'm going to go ahead and issue the 96 pounds of material. All right, so again, if I wanted to issue that, I could just click the check mark, or if I had lot and serial control, which I don't in this case, I could enter my lot and serial information down here. Right, so now we just tap on the check mark, and that's issued that component material to that job. All right, so pretty simple. Just a simple job material issue. Now, we could also do job labor processing or job completions. Now, I can do that a couple different ways. One way, I could just go in and do a simple, job move or job receipt right here. What we find a lot of our customers doing is using more of a kind of a work center approach to have kind of a listing of those jobs that maybe Jerry is potentially responsible for in that particular work center. So if I click on Work Center, what you'll see here is right now Jerry's not active on any jobs, but if I click on the job list, we'll see there's three different jobs out there that are in process through that work center. You can see the dates, okay, you can see the quantities that have been released, those that have been completed down here. If there were any specific notes associated with that job, okay, and I click on that, I'll see the notes. So here, Jerry himself entered a note, but then if I click on this note down here, maybe it's just a general instruction for that job or some specifics for that job. In addition to that, I could click on Documents, okay, and see any documents associated with it. And this comes from IDM or Infor Document Management System. So in this case, maybe there's a work instruction. So if I click on that PDF and click on this little icon on the bottom of the screen, there's the work instruction for that job. So you can electronically present those documents to the, in this case, the operator. Now, if Jerry wanted to, start run or end run on this job, you could simply just click right down here. That'll start the run for that job, okay? And in this case, if I wanted to just go ahead and start that, we click the checkbox, and now Jerry's on that job. Now watch, if I get out of here, remember before Jerry had no active jobs. Let's say Jerry logs off or takes a break or whatever. So we're out of the system right now. He comes back and logs back on. He'll notice it takes him right to the active job that he's on. So remember before we saw the job list, it had 3 jobs. Now there's only 2 that are kind of pending, but Jerry is active on this job. So when Jerry's, he's completed his work on this job, he'll click End, and that will complete a quantity. Okay, so in this case, maybe he did the 30 that were requested. We're going to go ahead and move 30. Click the checkbox, and now he's done his work on that job, and it's been completed. All right, or that operation, I should say, has been completed. All right, there's some other miscellaneous kind of shop floor transactions we'll touch on while we're here, and I'll go down to the kind of the miscellaneous area. First of all, I could view documents kind of in their raw form. If I want to just click on this Documents button and I pull up that job we looked at, 551165. Okay. In this case, if I choose that job, we're going to see any documents associated with that. So I could, without having to go into the job like we did before, I could see any documentation associated with it. And as we saw before, you pick the document you want to see, and then we just hit that little icon to pop that open. I could also look at a dispatch list. This is kind of a listing of what's going on with the job. So in this case, if I were to pull up my job, 551165, what we'll see here, here's my job, here's the operations, here's the status of the operations down here, here's the materials that have been issued, okay, here's any job transactions that I've performed, and here's any material transactions I've performed, and there's those 96 that we just issued on that job. So a nice way to kind of get a visual of what's going on with a job or jobs, because I could inquire by resource group and see a whole listing of jobs here. I can also see job status information. So again, if I pull this up, I'm going to see a listing of jobs. Maybe I see the operation those jobs are at, the targets and efficiency information over here. So it's giving me a nice way to kind of see either a job or group of jobs and a kind of a glimpse of the status of those jobs. And as we saw in shop or in warehouse mobility, I have QCS integration. So I can see disposition and test record information here as well. So if I pulled up a receiver, that one we saw earlier, it's going to be the same information we saw, okay, but kind of presented in a little bit larger mode than what we saw before. So there's my tests. Okay, there's my values that were entered for each of those tests. This one passed, this one may be pending, all right? And so that's a nice way to kind of get a quick look at my quality information. So in addition to your production folks using the factory track, kind of kiosks or mobile devices to access and to transact on information, quality can use it likewise. So it's a nice way to kind of give them a mobile way to be untethered in the plant and be able to get to their data. All right, and last I'll mention, again, Kanban processing for any of you that have interest in using kind of Kanban replenishment. And if I click on this replenishment status, let's say I want to see all Kanbans from 1 to 3, my cards 1 to 3. It's going to show me the status of those, the quantity requested, request date, and then over here, it's going to give me the ability to see, where's the replenishment source coming from. This one happens to be inventory, this is the job, and this one's a purchase order. And from there, I can do Kanban receipts and labels and pick lists and all the things associated with the Kanban processing. So it allows me, again, kind of an electronic two-bin system that kind of take that card system away if that's what you're doing today. All right, so that, between factory track, warehouse mobility, and shop floor mobility, you're going to have the capability to electronically transact and view information in a mobile format, throughout your factory, and one, make your users more productive, but also make your transactions more accurate based on the fact that you're now scanning barcodes and automating the entry of information as opposed to turning in paperwork and keying that manually. So hopefully you see where this could benefit your organization. And with that, Emily, I will turn it to you for any questions people may have.
All right. So at this time, as we said, it would be a short demonstration, so we do have plenty of time for questions. If you do have questions, a reminder to our attendees that you can type and submit your questions using the questions tab of the webinar toolbar. We did have 2 trickle in, probably see a couple more, Dave, so I'll jump right in.
Okay.
Our first question comes from Mike, who asks, if I'm upgrading to version 10 of SyteLine, does factory track replace shop track?
Yeah, good question. Yes, it does. And, factory track is the Infor's go-to product for, data collection and use of kind of mobile devices on the factory floor. So it does replace it, and it is available in both cloud and on-premise modes.
All right. Our next question comes from Karen, who says, if I understand how to customize in SyteLine, is it similar to customizing in factory track?
Absolutely. They're both written and using the same tool, Mongoose. So it's the same development tool set used for SyteLine and CloudSuite Industrial. And so from a technology standpoint, everything is consistent and identical from a development and kind of personalization standpoint.
All right, so we did have a few more questions. A reminder to our attendees, if you do have a question, you can go ahead and submit that in writing on the question tab of the webinar toolbar. The next question is from Eric, who asks, do I need special hardware for the scanners?
No, you're going to actually have choices of hardware. There's nothing specific. I shouldn't say it that way. It's not like you have to have a certain hardware. Most customers using Factory Track, I mean, first of all, you can use Factory Track even on the laptop or the desktop, so that just with a simple web browser. It runs on both Android and iOS devices. Okay, so it can be something as simple as an iPhone or iPod or Android device, or it can be, I think, as I mentioned before, it could be running on a kind of an intermac ruggedized device that runs an Android type platform. So it's your choice. Again, if it's in kind of a harsh environment, you might want a ruggedized device. Otherwise, as long as it can display the Android or iOS system, then you're good.
All right. Our next question comes from Jen. Are validations done in real time?
Yeah, and that's a pretty simple question, and it is yes. I mean, everything is real time, so there is no delay. It's just as if you're transacting online.
All right. We just had one more come through from Catherine. She asks, can you show us an example of JobTran? Is that a typo or does that sound right? Created from Factory Track. Job transaction, would that be?
We could probably follow up with that.
Okay.
I don't, yeah.
All
I
right,
don't know if
Catherine, we'll follow up with Catherine directly via email after the session. We have one more question that came through from Nate, and this one's an easy one too. Can Factory Track keep track of machine hours and usage?
Yes, it can. Keep track of
Okay.
both. Yep.
All right, so that's all the questions that we got. A nice, quick, easy session for your Friday afternoon, everyone. That's all of our questions and all of the time we have. So before we wrap up, a last reminder to all of our attendees of those 3 additional SyteLine module demos that we have scheduled coming up. You can learn more and register for those sessions, as always, on decision.com/events. With that, we'll wrap it up. So thank you so much for your time, Dave, and thank you to all of our attendees. We hope you all stay safe and have a great weekend.
Thank you, everybody.